All right, everybody. So I have Ben with Preservan Dallas. We're really excited to have you, Ben. You're going to take some time away out of your busy day to just share with us what the last year has looked like for you. And if I recall, we're actually a little bit past the last year because you were training in Oklahoma. It was brutally hot. Was it last August?
Yep. Last
Yeah.
August,
uh,
13 months ago. Yeah.
yeah. So it's been, honestly, it's been a pretty wild year, both for us as an emerging franchisor and you guys as a startup business working with an emerging franchisor. Uh, but let's just start with something easy to talk about. As you look back over the last year, or the last 14 months or whatever, what what so far are you the most proud of?
Um, Honestly, I would say the way that the team has come together.
Yeah.
You start off, you pick some people, you don't really know what you're doing. And looking back on it now, I was really fortunate to pick some great people. And that's
Yeah.
partly to, congratulate the franchise on the guidelines for hiring people, but there's still some ups and downs in that process. And
Right.
that our first technician, Jonathan, he's headed into kind of an operations role and helping me run things and take things over. And we brought in some other great techs as well. So I think that's probably the biggest thing.
Yeah. So, if you've been listening to these videos, we've already, we've talked to Steven, we've talked to Logan. Both of those guys personally knew their first hire. So your situation's a little different. So let's talk about the importance of that first hire for you. But how did you know Jonathan? How did you find out about Jonathan? Kind of what was your process for recruiting somebody who's been with you now for well over a year and stepping into more of a leadership role?
I did not know Jonathan before. We I found him through Indeed.
Okay.
We we had a job posting up. I leaned into the the job description and the predictive index stuff that y'all kind of
Hmm.
provide, the guidelines there, as well as I have a decent amount of interviewing experience and hiring engineers and other things from past
Yeah.
careers. Um, but yeah, my advice, I don't know, I would say that it's a really, really important hire
Yeah.
because it can set you up really well for success. I do think that it's recoverable if you don't land the right
Hmm.
person the first time. Um, but it's going to be difficult.
Yeah.
I, I'm struggling. I don't want to bias too heavy one way or the other because it's like it feels like there's always a ton of pressure when you're trying to hire someone, and you need to hire somebody, right?
Yeah.
Like one of the big steps is you need to hire somebody.
And how quickly? So, I mean, I don't remember exactly when you guys signed the franchise agreement, but it was a pretty quick from when, I mean, we were wanting to get you guys up and going. You were pretty eager to get up and going. Uh, from the moment that you put the ad out there to the moment you had made that hiring decision for Jonathan, about what was the time period on that?
Week and a half, two
Week and
weeks,
a half. Yeah.
somewhere in there. Yeah.
Yeah. I will give you a lot of credit. One of the things that Ben you did really well was one, like, obviously taking your professional experience and applying it. And if you want to learn more about Ben's background, we did an initial interview. I'll put that in the comments to this video. But you had this background hiring engineers, and this role is, in a different way, but it is very much kind of like it hiring an engineer. And so you did a great job taking that experience, but also working really closely with our team here at Preservan to kind of talk about the applicants that you were considering and I think, if I recall right, because I remember having this conversation with you, you'd kind of drilled it down to, maybe was it two or three uh people that were kind of on your top list, right?
Yeah, we had about 600 applicants. Yeah, it was crazy. And pretty rapidly, we were able to filter it down to 10 to 15 that I did an initial phone screen with. And then, yeah, we had 3 that we were really interested in. I keep saying we, it was
Yeah.
really me.
It was you. You had a mouse in your pocket.
Yeah, yeah, it was pretty much just me. We had three people that we were really interested in. I did in-person interviews with them. And honestly, they were all great. Jonathan was just the star of the
Yeah.
3, and he's
What was
yep.
there something in the interview, in his background? Was there something that made him or his predictive index that like ultimately you felt really confident that this is going to be the one that I'm going to hire, and you brought him to OKC for training? But was there something that you saw that made him stand out above the rest?
Yes. The It's hard to put into words. It's there there's a bunch of different personality types that we look at and that we sort of filter through.
Yeah.
And really the thing that stood out to me with Jonathan is a demonstrated willingness to excel and a demonstrated willingness to jump into the middle of a problem and figure it out as we go.
Yeah.
Some people they'll lock up when they're faced with something that they haven't seen before. Um, and Jonathan and me, like I was kind of looking for someone that was similar to me in that regard.
Yeah.
Jonathan's willing to jump into a problem and then figure his way out of it,
Mhm.
which is really important in
Yeah.
this industry, at least on the leadership side.
Yeah.
So,
One of the things that stuck out to me about Jonathan specifically, and had a great opportunity, worked with him here when he was doing training. And then of course, I've, seen him when I've been in Dallas visiting you there locally, is that two things he brought, what I could like, he is a team player through and through.
yeah,
Like there are those individuals in this world who I think are really uniquely gifted at kind of building up the team, lifting up the team, and who are what I call like humbly confident. And that is something that I saw in Jonathan early on. Like the guy had, he did his training, but early on in his training, he's demonstrating confidence in his capacity and his ability to do the work. Because I do think he had some prior construction experience. But unlike a lot of people who I've experienced in the construction trades who are full of ego and confidence, Jonathan had like didn't bring any ego to it. He brought humility, and he was willing. He was like there, ready to learn. Like he brought his knowledge to the table to give him confidence, but he was there willing to learn a new thing and really just dive in. And though I know he had a lot of experience, he came to that as willing to be a complete novice, which I think is just such a powerful thing when a person can take their experience that they have and they can set it aside and be a novice and learn. And Jonathan brought that, and I think he continues to bring that uh, because that's what's helped him grow inside your organization as you're developing him now to a larger role. So let me ask you. So you get hiring, you come to Oklahoma City. Let's talk about that first 90 days, because you guys really get kicked off in the mid fall, and then we head right into the winter. So how did that first 90 days play out for you, as far as like getting the business going, getting awareness in the community, the marketing? What did that first 90 days look like?
um, we were pushing pretty hard to get started early, just because we knew that the fall was we were headed into a slow period,
Right.
right? And so after training, we had a week or 2 where we weren't actually ready to go out and do any repairs, which was fine because we were waiting on the marketing to really catch up and
Yeah.
bring assessments in, that sort of thing. Um, and so, yeah, we started doing assessments. I think our first ones were the first week of September.
Okay.
Um,
Yeah.
got a few jobs on the books. I had a week-long vacation scheduled for the end of September, so I left, and the guy has figured it out. Um, which I think is this is a kind of a random aside, but I think that's a really important thing, like
Yeah.
the giving your team the chance to figure things out on their own.
Yeah.
Um, so I'm doing it again. I'm leaving this week actually. Um, so so after that, like we really that first 90 days, marketing seems to do pretty well, like kind of just the general marketing we were doing. Did some mailers, did the meta stuff,
Mhm.
and then it was really just about figuring out the jobs and
Right.
learning like we knew the process, but really learning how to apply the process.
Yeah.
Um, and figuring out what worked for us here in Dallas, right? Like it's every location's a little bit different.
Mhm.
Um, and so yeah, figuring out all of those little details.
I know definitely in the first 6 months, you hit a couple of hiccups along the way. Nothing like, like horrible, but things that can be relatively common when starting up a business. So will you speak to like what's the main hiccup when you think about that first like 6 months? What's that main thing that like was that you hit that you were like kind of really kind of I guess hit home that like I'm a business owner now and I own this hiccup or
Yeah,
problem.
yeah, the buck stops with me.
Yeah, yeah,
Um, I guess there are a couple kind of we'll go two very different directions.
yeah,
One of our technicians was he did great work. He just wasn't able to be as fast as we needed to be profitable.
yeah,
So needing to work through the employment side of switching out technicians, that's a that's such a tough one, right? Because people like we all care about people. That's
yeah,
one of the reasons we're in doing what we're
yeah.
doing.
Well, it was central
Um,
to something that you said during our initial interview. You
yeah,
talked about how you wanted to create great employment, and so having that heart, and then having somebody who's just not the right fit, that's that's really challenging. I mean, that's probably one of the most challenging things you can go through.
I think it is. I would say like out of all of the other things that we've done, other struggles we've had, everything else, I think the people aspect and if and when you have to let someone go is probably the hardest thing
Yeah,
um, that I ever expect to encounter
right.
in the business.
That
Um,
for sure is it.
yeah, yeah,
It's something as a business owner you have to do, and it is never easy. I think if it's easy for you, you might need to, check your conscience.
yeah.
Uh, it's always difficult. But so you made that decision,
Yep.
and then and that was kind of you had two guys, you had Jonathan and this other one. You made that decision. You how soon did you rehire, and then how did you find that second hire?
I had actually we had three techs going.
Okay.
We had brought in a third technician to kind of get training going, see if we could boost our profitability,
Hmm.
get our numbers looking better. And he is actually a friend of Jonathan's, former coworker of Jonathan. And the third tech that we have now, is kind of the same way. So when we hire next time, we'll be probably actually opening a job rec and looking for, some additional people. I think we've worked through most of our friends and family. Um, so, but yeah, I kind of did it the easy way because I already had that person in
Yeah.
and kind of coming up to speed, but it's uh it's a process, getting someone to the point where they're really ready to go and do whatever in-depth repair needs to be done on their own.
Hmm.
Is we kind of we sort of cut them loose at 30 days
Yeah.
to go do things on their own, but it's really 60 to 90 days before they're fully functional. And especially, you know, I think some of that depends on the complexity of the jobs that you're doing.
Right.
And here in Dallas, we have a lot of pretty complex jobs going on just between the size of the jobs that we do here, and the complexity of the windows and other things. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. So you said you had two, so hiring definitely, and then having to make that decision to let somebody go and to get somebody else. Hardest thing. But you said you had another one. What's the other one that was difficult in that first
Yes.
6 months or so?
Um, so we were doing a repair. What was this? This would have been February. We were doing repairs. My guys were parked on the street, and someone in an F-250 backed into car. It was like, okay, well, now I have to figure out insurance, and I have to figure out, I have to coordinate one, getting my technician something so they can continue doing repairs
Right.
while I'm getting a vehicle fixed and everything else. And like, someday I hope to have spare vehicles big enough to like just rotate through.
Yeah.
We're not at that stage yet. And so it's just, it makes everything a whole lot more complicated.
Yeah.
So,
That's it's funny how, you as a business owner, you don't really, or as somebody who's thinking about going to business, none of that, it's not like a huge deal, but you realize that like that's on me. Like now I've got to be the one that figures this out. I have got I've got a neighbor, a homeowner that has an expectation that their house gets repaired, so I've got to deliver on my promise. I have got a technician who has an expectation that they're going to get a paycheck this week for work that I have generated for them. So I've got that. So you have this level, and it's my business. There's nobody else I can uh, get to run my business, and so you just like that weight kind of sets on you. It's all on you. How do you, Ben, as a new business owner, it's your first business to ever own? How do you deal with that level of pressure that you face sometimes as, uh, life and business and things happen?
um, a few different ways. One for me is sort of cheating because most other people won't have this perspective. And I think we talked about this actually in the initial interview as well. My previous job, I was making a fair amount of life and death type decisions, just being in aerospace, making
Yeah.
decisions on, are we going to hurt someone or not? And so now I'm just making decisions on, it's just money.
Yeah.
Um, and I don't want to sound blasé about that, but like
Right.
at the end of the day, it's just money. Um, and so that helps some. I did kind of toward the summer. I eventually had to make a rule for myself that after 6 p.m. I was gonna turn off the work mode. Um, and I did fairly well with that. There are some days when that doesn't work, but just having the kind of the baseline of, hey, my evenings are for things other than the business.
Yeah.
Um, and that goes counter to some other advice where, people live and breathe their business 24/7. I coming out of being burned out already and kind of recovering from that, I was noticing the signs of burnout again.
Hmm.
Struggling with motivation and struggling to engage in all of the little bits and pieces that the business
Yeah.
needed. So that was a really good line for me to set. Um,
Right.
but then I also, our numbers were good enough that I was able to bring in a an assistant to help
Uh-huh.
me kind of start on the back end with doing some of the follow up, doing some of the scheduling of the jobs themselves, that kind of thing. Um, that helped quite a bit. I really highly recommend people push toward that as quickly as they can.
Yeah. Getting someone, an executive assistant or somebody to help you out, super super helpful. Whether that's fractional or, uh, you know, if you're, some people they've got a family member that can help them do things like that. That can always be really great. Ben, I know probably another thing that I don't know how much in these times where you're like dealing with things, whether they're good or bad, or you're thinking through things. how much does like the other franchisees like what's does that help being able to reach out to them and speak to them? Is that something you do very often? Like how does that like being part of a franchise network kind of impact those same kind of like trying to navigate being a business owner for the first time?
I have found it hugely helpful. It's, like Logan and
Yeah.
I would say are good friends at this point.
You guys did
Uh,
training together, so I think that probably helps. We threw some axes together. Yeah.
exactly. I think I think that makes a big difference. But yeah, we have a pretty active owners group. There's a
Mhm.
chat that we talk together and problem solve, whether it's repairs or business matters or whatever. We try to help each other out and really talk through and encourage each other, and also encourage each other to make hard decisions that we're maybe
Yeah.
avoiding.
When I see you guys, I think this is not my interview to talk about my year, but if someone asked me like what am I the most proud of over the last year, it would be the culture that you guys have built. That like we initiated and you guys have built, and the relationships that are happening where if a franchisee is anywhere near your area, they're stopping by and they're having dinner with you, and you guys are, reading books together and challenging one another. And yeah, like from my perspective, that's the thing I'm the most proud of. Uh,
Credit to y'all for picking good people.
yeah, well, I think that's something to do with good people like what we do. I think that's some of what it is, man.
Self-select a little
Yeah,
bit.
that's right. That's right. I think there's a certain individual who's going to align with the values of preservation, restoration, and repair. And I think that we're just really super fortunate that that's our business model and our values, that it attracts those type of people. I mean, there's a lot of really cool business models, but business models that are strictly driven by money. And though we do, and we could talk about money, but I think business models strictly driven by money can get the wrong types of people and create the wrong culture. And this is where it's just like a self-built guardrail that we have, because it's like this, it's a values first culture.
Yep.
Uh, so talking about what we do, renovation, repair, preservation, uh, every city's different. Every market is different. Dallas and your area is a big, huge city. I don't think most people, when they think of Dallas, they think historic preservation. There's some of that there, but how has the city of Dallas welcomed you? What has it been like to build a business? How have you been received? Just kind of generally speak to that.
I would say that we've been received really, really well.
Yeah.
Um, just about everyone I talk to, when I take the time to explain what we do, they are very excited that we're here. Um, Whether they're in historic preservation or they're just in some sort of home services or whatever, like they see the need, and they see the problem that we're solving. So as far as like Dallas is a really interesting place.
Yeah.
There is actually there are a ton of historic buildings here.
Hmm.
Um, we're still working on getting into the right locations to work on more of those.
Yeah.
But there are also a ton of buildings that are not historic, but are uh, very close. They're old,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
There's that sort of
They're
they
not
haven't.
historic, but they are old.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
20 to 50-year-old homes,
Hmm.
especially, is kind of where we're doing most of our work here in Dallas, and it's partly because a lot of homes here have wood windows. They're
Yeah.
gorgeous. And that time frame is when we shifted away from really high quality woods to some of the cheaper products, and they need us more because of that.
Yeah.
So we fix a ton of wood windows. Um, and we do all the other standards too, garage door
Yeah.
jams and door jams and everything else. But I would say a significant portion of our business is fixing wood windows.
Yeah. Yeah. No, you guys are doing some amazing work. I mean, Dallas has, like I said, all of our markets are different because of the way the houses are built, but there's also this similarity between all of them, being that, the older a house gets, the more work it needs. And it has been really great to see, how welcomed you've been. I mean, this last couple months ago, you were asked to do a workshop with Preservation Dallas. I got to be there.
Yeah.
Really cool thing. I mean, kudos to you for putting that together with your team, but just being able to be an advocate for that community there. And it was, I mean, one of the like top preservation individuals in Texas was there, just like kind of championing you guys along, and is now, I think, referring you guys business. And it's kind of having a different type of service and getting that kind of recognition from these old school guys is pretty cool.
It feels good.
Yeah.
I think it's a really big compliment when when people that are really, really deep in the preservation space recommend us and are glad that we're around.
Yeah.
Um, that was one of my goals when I started this, was like, I want to make sure that we make sure that we're supporting and helping the historic community and that we're involved. And um, yeah,
Yeah.
it's worked
No,
out well.
it was really impressive to be there and to see the types of relationships you were building with the community, and just how well received that was. Uh, as we get close to the end here, let's just kind of talk about expectations. And I'm going to frame this up two ways, because I think for those of us that have decided to start our own business, we usually are balancing our expectations in three ways. That's how I always think about my expectations in three ways. My expectations financially, like, is this meeting am I on a trajectory to meet kind of what my financial expectations were? Am I mapping this thing out that it made sense for me financially? Uh, is this meeting my expectations of time? Or is it on its path to create my expectations of free time? And then lastly, my expectation of making a positive impact in the thing that matters to me most, whether it's the planet, the community, my employees. So let's start with the last one. How's it doing with meeting kind of your expectation for impact?
I think we're doing pretty well. Um, I I always struggle with wanting things to move faster and go faster, and so I'm I'm filtering through that. But no,
Yeah,
the
you have high expectations of yourself, Ben. I mean, we've had a lot of phone calls. You have very, very high expectations.
yes, I do. Um, but yeah, no, I think, like, we are able to take care of our employees.
Yeah,
They have benefits. We've got we offer kind of the standard benefits that aren't really standard in a lot of construction.
that's absolutely. Yeah.
So I think that's a big one. Um,
So you've got like health insurance
yep, we
for the
offer health
employees,
insurance, 401k, um, those
and then
types of
like some
things.
paid time off or
Paid time
in
off.
holiday. Yeah.
Yep, a little bit. Not as much as I'd like to offer. And, it's one of the ones.
Yeah.
And then, yeah, I feel like impact in the community. We've been able to sponsor the Preservation Dallas events.
Mm-hmm.
We're involved also with Preservation Park Cities, who's
Okay.
kind of their sister organizations.
Yeah.
Um, and yeah, I mean, we're fixing homes,
That's
right?
an
We're
easy one. I mean, with
Yeah,
preserving, that one is usually an easy one. It's the layup, because it's like when you're doing the work of preserving, we are making a positive impact. I mean,
yeah.
that's the core of the business. So that's the easy one. The next one, and I know this has been more challenging for you given your high expectations and your work ethic. How has preserving been on creating free time? Have you had to make? And I think you've already talked a little bit of this. How has that developed over the last year?
Um, I would say that one has pretty much met my expectations.
Okay.
My end goal with this is to be much more hands off, but going in, I knew that that was a 3 to 5 year goal, right?
Right.
Like
Right.
you don't start a business and expect to gain more free time day one. That's just
Yeah.
not how it works in
Yeah.
anything that I've found, at
Right.
least. Um, and so yeah, we're actively working. I am actively working toward gaining back that free time.
Hmm.
We hired a salesperson.
Yeah.
She's kind of up to speed. She's out in the field now, which means that I'm not out in the field as much, kind of
Yeah.
adjusting to being in the office more and figuring out what my new role looks like.
Yeah.
But that will gain back a lot of
Yeah.
free time for me. Um, and then yeah, just kind of getting I've been really focused this year on just getting the business to the point where it will be more functional without me, where the processes and everything, even outside of the processes and operations and support that y'all provide,
Right.
building on top of that, the systems that are going to be needed for me to take a step back and
Hmm.
for others to be able to run it, and
Yeah.
giving them the training and support that they're going to need, and also the freedom that they need right now to kind of problem solve that and have a better understanding as we progress.
Yeah. Well, and some of that too, I mean, I don't think you've got in your near future, based off of the goals I know you have, you're gonna have to you're having to lay the foundation of this gaining back some of your time. It's not so you can like go kick your feet up and at the beach just yet. It's a lot of if you're gonna meet these other expectations you have to build Preservan Dallas, you've got to free yourself up to take care of some higher level task. And you are laying those foundations by developing Jonathan, working really hard at that. You have worked really closely with the executive team for coaching. You've worked with a business coach in addition to that,
Yep.
and then you've hired a sales rep to kind of to go out there and promote you even more. So you're laying all those pieces, which I think is so critical to all the success that you've built. Is just like focusing on the foundational things, getting those locked in, like kind of like checking boxes. Like when we talk, it's like I feel like you're like check that box, now I can move on. And you're slow to move on until you've gotten that box checked, which has been good, and it creates these really solid foundations. So we talk about what you're building in Dallas, Preservan Dallas, which once you get it done will essentially go from Frisco to downtown Dallas, essentially. Uh, how has it been on the financial side? How have your expectations been met? Have they fallen short? Have are you know what's that look like?
That's been an interesting one. I would say I'm really grateful that we started off really well capitalized,
Hmm.
which was an intentional choice, knowing that we got 4 territories. Like
Yeah.
Dallas is a huge market. There's some demands there that we kind of expected.
Right.
Um, and then I would say the first part of the year, we okay, I guess I should back up. I am generally a little over optimistic when I'm making estimates on financial projections.
Yeah.
So we undershot my initial like 12-month financial projections a little bit.
Hmm.
But looking back, it's all for really good reasons, really clear reasons, right? Like kind of like you were saying, I was I prioritized getting the right foundational blocks in place, checking the right boxes, and not trying to move past those because of money constraints, which was really hard. But I would say it was really worth it from the standpoint of the foundation that we have and the things that we're going to be able to do in the next year.
Yeah.
Uh, and so, like, I say the first 12 months, right? Projections for 2025 are looking really good. We're going to exceed the projections that we made in February by a
Okay.
pretty large margin.
Yeah.
Um, like potentially, it'll be somewhere between 20 and 50% more than what we had predicted in February.
Yeah.
So that's pretty amazing.
Yeah.
Honestly, I,
Ben, one of the things, and we say this word when we're doing training. When we're doing training, and when you and Jonathan are here, I'm sure you remember me saying this: first right, then fast. Right, like that's what we say about learning the epoxy repair process. First right, then fast.
Yep.
And I would say, as a business, and this is so critical. You talked about this about being appropriately capitalized, right? Like having the right amount of money to build what you have envisioned. You had 4 territories envisioned, and so you appropriately capitalized for that. And that allowed you to kind of follow that same method of the repair process in your business, where you did first right, then fast. You really, what I saw, and there were months early on. I mean, I would say definitely like that. Those first 6 months, you and I had some conversations that weren't super exciting sometimes, because it was, you had lofty goals, we had lofty goals for you, and you weren't hitting the marks that you wanted to hit, and those were real conversations. But on the other side of that, you were laying the foundations. Like you were getting out and going to B&I meetings, you know, and that took away from maybe you doing, like, going out in the field and maybe doing the work or making money or going and selling something. But it was just like you laid the foundations. You held your team to a really high standard of quality,
yep.
really high standard of quality, which I think, and you started running your business by the numbers. You really, like, you actually helped us build out a dashboard and KPIs, because we started having these conversations about KPIs. You started leading your team by KPIs, and like it was a slow start, but it was so intentional that we're excited for you for sure as these last few months have gone by, and it's like that really worked. That
Yeah.
really worked. And that first right then fast, I think, in business, as in learning how to do something, is so critical. And good job on doing it. And it really has been like just checking the boxes and focusing on doing the right thing and not getting out ahead of yourself until you've gotten the basics done, which you and your team have done really, really well.
Thank you. We've been working on it. It's, I feel like it's still a work in progress, but
Well, it is. It is. We have a lot of work to do in Dallas. There's a lot of houses with a lot of rot. Uh, well, let's end it here. I'm going to ask you one last question. People listening to this are thinking about whether or not they should consider franchising. That's my guess, because I only have like 150 subscribers or something. So the only people who would listen to this are somebody like that, I guess, unless they just love listening to other people's business stuff. That's cool too. But if somebody's listening to this and they're considering franchising, what, not some like lofty, fluffy advice, but what kind of like real, honest advice, as someone who went through the process, who's been doing it for a year, what kind of advice would you give somebody?
um, I think a few pieces of advice. One of the things is you want to make sure, like for any franchise that you're looking at, you want to have a good understanding of the systems and the processes that they're bringing, because that is one of the huge advantages of buying into a franchise,
Yeah.
right? Like I didn't have to develop a logo, I didn't have to develop marketing, like show up and those things are taken care of. Logan said something similar,
Yeah.
right?
Right.
Like just go do the work.
Yeah.
And it's really helpful to not have to worry about those things when
Hmm.
you're worrying about everything else.
Yeah.
Um, the other thing is really, really understand who you are building a relationship with.
Hmm.
right? Like there are people that I would never want to be in business with. Um, and that was a really big reason that I picked y'all, right?
Yeah.
When I was up in Oklahoma City, meeting y'all for the first time, and we're hanging out, drinking a beer, and just hanging out till way too late. And
Yeah.
it's like, okay, these are people that I enjoy. These are people that I trust. People that I can trust to make the right decisions, even if they're hard decisions.
Hmm.
Um, so I think those are probably the two biggest things that I would say. Obviously, you want the numbers to line up.
Yeah.
Do your due diligence on that. But yeah, know the people that you're getting into business with, because it's make or break, in my opinion.
It is, and life's too short. Life's too short to go into business and not. And I'm saying that from our perspective, right? Like life's too short for me to do this with franchisees I don't enjoy, right? Like I just
Yeah,
like and that's what gives us energy. It's what makes this fun when it's you have those the dark nights where you're worried or things aren't going right or the marketing isn't working like it was supposed to.
yep,
And you but knowing that you've got, for me, knowing I got franchisees who believe in the system, knowing that you've got a franchisor who believes in you, that's what makes a difference. And life's too short to do these things without that. Ben, man, obviously, we are super proud of you. We are so excited about what's happening in Dallas, the impact you're making, the team you're building, all of that stuff. We want to encourage you to have a peaceful vacation and try to not take a ton of phone calls from your team and take your own advice and let them just figure it
things
out
out.
while you're gone. Right?
That's right. That's the idea.
All right, Ben.
Yeah.
We'll see you later, man.
Awesome.